A very blessed day to all of you. Today we are going to deal with the very first chapter of your English book, First Flight, A Letter to God, written by G.L. Fuentes. Now he is G.L. Fuentes and he was a Mexican playwright. He used to write plays in very naturalistic way and his story, A Letter to God, is his masterpiece. It revolves around a farmer and his immense faith in God. Before beginning the chapter, the few things that need to be remembered in our mind are: what is the one thing that makes us alive? Is it food? Is it water? Or is it something else? No. It is a hope that we carry each day. It is a hope that makes us alive. It is a hope that makes us cross one day and move to the other, and this is the hope that keeps all circle of life going on in very positive way. As if we take the finest example, we being in quarantine mode, but this is the hope that we are still dwelling and fighting with all the odds that are coming up in our ways, and we all are hoping and praying that it will go soon and we all will be back to our normal routine. So, this story, A Letter to God, is the finest example of the faith that a simpleton farmer can hold. Basically, the theme of the chapter is all about faith. Without hope, there can be no life. We can even live without water for some time. We can live without food for some time. But without hope, we cannot survive for a single moment. Because the moment your hope is dead, the will to succeed in a life automatically dies. So the main character of this story is Lencho, a farmer. And this story has a moral, that is, extreme faith in God may give you a ray of hope even in the darkest time. So here faith means strong belief. Ray of hope means positivity. Darkest time means when you are in worst situation. So if we have faith in God, it will help us to come out from the worst situation anytime. So let's move on to the text. Now, before you read, they say faith can move mountains, but what should we put our faith in? This is a question this story delicately means carefully possess. So, we know that faith can move mountains, but the question is whom we should faith, because no one is loyal these days. So, this question is clearly asked in this chapter. So now, Lencho is a farmer who writes a letter to God when his crops are ruined, asking for 100 pesos. Does Lencho letter reach God? Does God send him money? Think what your answers to these questions would be, and guess how the story continues before you begin to read it. Now, already I have given you homework to find out about postcards. So this is a kind of postcards, and I hope that you all know what are the postcards and what they are used for. Now moving on to the text. The house, the only one in the entire valley, set on the crest of a low hill. Okay, so here writer says that there was a house, and that house was the only one present in the whole valley. Set on the crest means, so there is a house who was located on the top of a low hill. This hill was not high, it was a low hill, and that was the only house to be seen around. Okay, from this height one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. Means from this height, so from the house, from the height of house, we can see the vast stretch of cornfields and we can see the river. Okay, that was there in front of them. And what is he saying further? Dotted with flowers means scattered. Dotted means scattered or spread in many places. So the flowers of the corn plants were scattered, and this was a promise, this was an indication that the farmer could get a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, means heavy rain, or at least a shower, means mild rain. So, the field was getting ready to have a good harvest of corn, And what was necessary? A downpour. So what is downpour? Downpour is heavy rain, or he needed at least a small shower. So the farmer was expecting some rain so that he could get a good harvest. Throughout the morning, Lancho, who knew his fields intimately, means closely, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So throughout the morning, Lancho the farmer, he did nothing. And what he was doing? He was just looking towards the sky in northern direction. So why was he looking towards sky? Because he was expecting some shower or rain so that he could get a good harvest. Now we are really going to get some water woman. So now who is that woman? Probably she is his wife. Okay, now he's talking to his wife. So immediately he called out to his wife. Here he is addressing his wife as woman. So he's telling her that they will have some water, means he's expecting rain so that their field will be having some water. The woman who was preparing supper, means dinner, replied, yes, God willing. So the woman who was preparing, she replied, yes, if God is willing, we'll surely get shower, we'll surely get rain. The older boys were working in the field while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all. So he had children also, and his older boys were working in the field while his younger ones and smaller ones, you can say, they were playing near the house. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. So immediately the woman who was preparing supper, she called out for her boys. Okay, she called out to them to have food, and they stopped playing and working, and they came to have dinner. So it was during the meal time when they were having food. What happened? The rain began to fall. As the Lencho had already predicted that it is going to rain, so what happened? The rain started falling down, and that two big drops of rain. Big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching, means coming. So now what happened? He was looking towards north side, and it was the same side that the huge clouds started forming, and they were approaching towards the fields. The air was fresh and sweet. So you know that how the air smells of fields whenever we are going to have rain. So it was the same air. The air was cool and it was smelling very sweetly. The man went out for no other reason than to have a pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. So what did Alenche do? When the raindrops started falling, he just went out because he wanted to feel the rain on his body, because he was feeling so happy by the rain. And why he was so happy? He was happy because the rain will help him to get good harvest. And when he returned, he exclaimed, these aren't raindrops falling from the sky, they are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s. And after that, he came inside and exclaimed. So what is he exclaimed? He exclaimed, means shouted out. He shouted out with joy. He said, they aren't coins. So he was saying very happily, and he was comparing these raindrops to coins. So now why did Lencho calls raindrops as new coins? Why? Because he knew that if the rain falls on his field, it will help him to get a good harvest, whereby he will sell these crops and he will get a lot of money by selling these harvests. So that is why he calls raindrops as new coins. So now moving further, with a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in curtain of rain. So he compares the bigger drops of rain to 10 cent and little drops to 5 cent. And cent is Mexican currency. So he was having a very satisfied expression. Why was he satisfied? We know that he was waiting for the rain so that it will help him get a good harvest. So as the rain came, as it was expected, he was feeling so satisfied, and he looked at his cornfield with its flowers fully covered with a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones, means small balls of ice falling as rain, began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. Okay, so as he was very satisfied because of rain, because the rain was actually falling down, so what happened? Suddenly everything got changed. The strong wind began to blow. So there was a strong wind, only wanted a small shower that would be helpful for his field, for his crops. But what happened? Strong wind began to blow along with the heavy or large hailstones, means ball of ice began to fall from sky. So it was not raindrops now. After that, hailstone began to fall. These truly resembles to new silver coins. Now, why he's saying like this? Because they were big pieces of ice that was actually falling from sky. Okay, and they are looking like silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. So his children, when they saw a huge stone of ice falling from the sky, they just ran out to collect because they were looking like frozen pearls. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. I hope it passes quickly. So, the man who was actually very happy by seeing the rain now started feeling worried. Why? Because it was getting bad. Because all the frozen pearls of the frozen ice that was falling down would come and damage his crop. So, he had a little hope. What is the little hope? He thought that the hailstorm would stop and the damage become less. Okay? It did not pass quickly. That means it continued to fall. The hailstone continued to fall for an hour. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. So imagine the continuous fall of hailstone for 1 hour. What would happen? The entire valley, the garden, the hillside, the house, everything was covered with hailstones. The field was white as if covered with salt. So the whole field, his whole field of cornfield was covered with hailstone, and it looked like as if it was completely covered with salt because salt is white in color. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Now after the hailstorm, everything was destroyed. Why? Because the hailstone destroyed all the things that were around. These all the things were totally covered with hailstone. Even the flowers, even the plants, they were also damaged. They were also covered with these hailstones. So his crop was also destroyed by hailstone. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his son. So, because his whole crop was destroyed, he was feeling very sad. His heart broke out. So, when it passed, so when he was standing in the middle of the field and he was talking to his son, what he was saying? A plague of locusts would have left more than this. Locusts are the insect like grasshopper. You can see here, this is a kind of locust, and we can say insect, and these are the hailstones. And Lencho, he was standing in a very tensed position. He was very tense. You can see wrinkle on his eyebrows. Okay, so what he says to his sons, so he says to his sons that even if a plague of locusts would have come and destroyed the field, something would have left. But because of hailstone, it was totally destroyed. The crop was totally destroyed. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. So he was saying that because of hailstone we have nothing left. So this year we'll be having no corn. Okay? That night was a sorrowful one. So, why was the night sorrowful? Because Lencho knew that there was nothing left in his field and he would not be able to sell anything, therefore, no money and no food for whole year. All our work for nothing. So he was also feeling sad that all the hard work that he had put in all these days went for nothing because everything was destroyed by the hailstorm. There's no one who can help us. We all have to go hungry this year. And he was feeling extremely sad because the hailstorm left nothing for them. So he thought that now they have to die because of hunger and no one is there to help us. They all have to be live without money, and when there will be no money there will be no food. Okay, so now let's discuss the questions. What did Lencho hope for? Lencho was hoping for the rain. Why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coins? Because these raindrops will help him get good crops, and by good crops, by selling them, he can get money and he could get prosperity. How did the rain change? What happened to Lencho's field? For what happened? The rain changed into hailstone, and with the storm, the hailstone began to fall. What was Lencho feeling when the hail stopped? He was feeling very sad. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope, help from God. So, in the hearts of the people who lived in that solitary house, means lonely house, they all have a hope. And what was that hope? Help from God. They all hoped that God would help him, and they all were waiting for that help. Don't be so upset. Even though this seems like a total loss, remember, no one dies of hunger. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. So Lencho was feeling so sad. Why? Because his crop was destroyed. But then his wife consoles him and she says to him that, yes, it is looking like a total loss, but we are not going to die of hunger because nobody dies of hunger. Okay, so there is some hope in her also, and she feels that some help would come from God. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Okay, so Lencho also agrees with her. Okay, and for the whole night, he only thought about his hope, and that is the help of God, because he had extreme faith in God and he thought that God is going to help him. He will surely find a way to help him. And as we all know that God sees everything, so he also thinks that God is going to help him because he's seeing everything. Okay, Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. So, what does it mean? It means that ox of a man means he was a very hard-working man. He worked like an ox in the field, means continuously like animals. And he knew how to write also, means he was literate person. He was not at all illiterate. He was a literate farmer. The following Sunday, at daybreak, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. So the following Sunday means next Sunday. Now, what happened in the morning? He started writing a letter. So he thought that he would write a letter to God and will ask for some help. And he himself will carry it to the post office and he will put it into the mailbox. Okay. So now, what he wrote? God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. Okay. So now what he wrote in this letter? He wrote that, God, if you are not going to help me, my whole family is not going to have any kind of food. We will die because of hunger. Okay. So we have to live hungry for the whole year. How we are going to survive? I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes because the hail storm. Now he continued writing his letter. And what else he wrote in his letter? He wrote that he wanted 100 pesos. Why? Why he need 100 pesos? He needed 100 pesos to sow his field again. Okay? So he wanted to sow his field again so that he can grow his crops again. Okay? So to grow crops he needed money. That is why he asked for 100 pesos. What is pesos? Pesos is Mexican currency. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside and, still troubled, went to town. And what did he do then? He wrote God on the envelope and he put it inside the envelope. After that, he went from there. Okay? At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mail box. And he went to post office and there he placed a stamp on the letter and he put it inside the post box. Okay? One of the employees who was a postman and also helped at the post office went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. As he dropped the letter into the post box, what happened? One of the postmen who was working in the post office, he saw the letter and he took it and he started laughing. Why he started laughing? We'll come to know. Okay. So now he took the letter to postmaster. Okay. What he did? He took this letter to postmaster and postmaster also started laughing. Okay. Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. Okay. So now in his career, he has seen many letters, but he has never seen such a letter at all. Okay, because it was addressed to God. Okay, the postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, was broke out laughing, but almost immediately he turned serious and tapping the letter on his desk commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter," starting up a correspondence with God. So the postmaster as well, the postman, they both started laughing. But postmaster became serious soon. He kept the letter on his desk and said, now what he said? Now he is praising the faith of that man who has written this letter. Okay? So the postmaster is praising that kind of faith he had to write a letter to God. Okay? Even he also felt that. What he felt? That even he should have such kind of faith that that man had. Okay? He also thought that he could also start a communication with God. Okay? So what is the meaning of correspondence here? It means communication. Okay? So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. Okay? So the postmaster was so surprised by the faith Lencho had in God. So he had an idea. What was that idea? We'll come to know. Okay? Answer the letter. Now he thought that he would answer the letter. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than goodwill, ink and paper. So the postmaster wanted to know what he had written to the God. So he opened the letter and read it. So what was written inside? It was written that he wanted 100 pesos. But as soon as the postmaster read it, he understood that it was not only ink and paper that he needed. He needed something else because he needed money, not that answer. He has written letter for money. Okay? But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. Okay, so what is resolution? Resolution is a strong decision to do something. So what was his resolution? His resolution was to answer Lencho's letter to God. So he asked for money from his employees and he himself gave a part of his salary, and he asked to his friends to give money because they all were ready to help somebody who was in need. So, what is the act of charity? It means helping somebody in need. Okay? So it was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. So the postmaster who wanted to help Lencho, he was able to collect only 70 pesos, which was little more than half what the Lencho had asked from God. So, what he did? He put the money in an envelope addressed to God and with it a letter containing only a single word as signature of God. So, what did he do? After that, he put all the money, whatever he had collected, in an envelope and put a letter also and wrote only a single word, that is a signature in the name of God. Now, let's discuss some question. Who or what did Lencho have faith in? Lencho had faith in God. What did he do? He wrote a letter to God. Who read the letter? Postmaster read the letter. What did the postmaster do then? He decided to help the farmer. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. So next Sunday, what happened? Lencho came back to the post office. Why? Because he wanted to know if he had a reply from God. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who was performed a good deed, looked on from his office. So, what is contentment? Contentment means satisfaction. And who is feeling satisfied? The postmaster is feeling satisfied. Why? Because he has done a good deed. Okay. So what happened when the Lencho came following Sunday to the post office? The postmaster handed him the letter, and the postmaster who was responsible. He was responsible for the whole thing. Okay. He sat in his place and he was feeling very satisfied. Why? Because he has done a good thing. He has done a good deed. So what was the good deed he did? He tried to help Lencho by collecting money and sending him in the name of God. So from his seat, he looked at Lencho's expression. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence, but he became angry when he counted the money. So Lencho, when he received the envelope, okay, there was no change of expression on his face. This shows that he was extremely sure. He was extremely sure that God is going to help him. But as soon as he opened the letter and he counted the money, he got angry. Why he got angry? Okay, now we'll come to know. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. So he got angry. Why? Because when he counted the money, it was less the money. It was less as to what he had asked for. So he felt that God can never make a mistake. And he also knew that God cannot deny him for anything. Okay, whatever he had asked, God cannot say no to him. Okay, he was so sure that he will help him and he will never say no. Okay, immediately Lencho went up to the window to ask paper and ink. So, feeling angry by seeing what he had received, he wanted to write a letter again, and he decided that he will write a letter again, and he asked for the paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write with much wrinkling on his brow caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. Now he started replying to God, and there was a change in expression on his face. So when he finished, what he did? When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp which he licked. Licked means made wet with tongue, and then affixed means fixed to an envelope with a bow of his fist. Okay, so now what happened? So he was very, very angry because he has not received the money. He has not received 100 pesos, only 70 pesos he had received. So he bought a stamp and he put the letter inside the envelope and he fixed stamp on the envelope. Okay. The moment the letter fell into the main box, the postmaster went to open it. As soon as he dropped the letter, the postmaster took the letter and he opened it. It said, God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks, Lencho. So, this is what he had written. So, what did he write? He wrote, I have asked for 100 pesos, but I got only 70 pesos. Send me the remaining money, God, because I need it badly. But this time, don't send me money through mail. Why? Because he feels that the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. So, what do you mean by crooks? Crooks means cheats. So he thinks that if again God sends money through mail, then post office employees would again take his money or cheat him. So that was the kind of faith he had in God. So what kind of man is Lencho? So Lencho is a very hardworking, simple and innocent farmer. He had extreme faith in God and he thought that only God could help him. Okay? He never had a sense to believe that it could be a bunch of employees from the post office who had really helped him. He felt that if God replies to him and sends him the rest of the money, the people would again cheat him by robbing the money. He was so innocent that he thought God will again send him the money. So I hope now you all have understood the story very well. So now in my next video we are going to do question answers. If you want to see the explanation in Hindi, you can go to the videos which are in YouTube. So thank you. Have a good day.